get your questions answered. So as we go through this, we will talk through, so basically just kind of what we're going to go through is, like I had mentioned, those 3 different next steps. So first of all, congratulations as you are approaching graduation. So if you guys don't mind, do the 3 of you know what term you are like expected to graduate in? Is that coming up soon, or do you still have a little bit?
I'm on my last class. This is
Okay.
Marcela.
Perfect.
Well, I should be graduating in next year, June.
Okay, great. And okay, perfect. So I appreciate you guys taking the time to meet with us today to get kind of information on the next steps. So first of all, congratulations on approaching graduation. It's very exciting. I know you guys have put a lot of time and effort into your program thus far. And I appreciate you getting some additional information on next steps. So something I want you to really think about as we move through the presentation are those couple of questions listed there. What are your personal goals and what are your professional goals? So really at this point, this decision should be really based around what are some next steps and what is going to help you personally and professionally in your career path. That's really what those second concentrations or even our certificate of advanced graduate studies options are for, is to help you enhance your academic degree, allow you to kind of attend Ottawa University a little bit longer after you finish your initial degree, and really kind of enhance that degree that you've already earned, the executive MBA. So let's talk through that as far as graduation. If you are done, you've earned the requirements to get your executive MBA with your first concentration, then you are ready to graduate. So you can see there the requirements listed. You have to have completed the required 42 credit hours, the 3.0 GPA, and then have no D's or F's on your transcript that you haven't retaken. And then you have to submit your graduation application. There's a link for that to fill out. You will have received, or either have already received it or will receive it from our student services team via email. You'll click on the link, fill out the information. That sends your information to our registrar's office, confirming that you are ready to graduate. You're done with your time here at Ottawa, and you would like your degree to confer on your transcript. After you finish your last class, the registrar's office will go back and do a degree audit, which our teams have already kind of done for you and helped keep you on track. Once that's done, and based off your conferral date, they'll confer it on the date that was established based on when you submitted the application. And then 4 to 6 weeks after that conferral date is when you can expect to get your diploma in the mail. So we really recommend that at any point as you near the end of your program or right after you graduate, if you've had a address change, we need to make sure that you send that to our teams so that we can get that updated with the registrar's office to send you your diploma to the correct place. Any questions about that piece of it as far as graduation goes? If you are interested in continuing on in getting a second concentration, you will not do that step at this time. You will not graduate with your initial degree, because instead you're adding to your degree requirements by enrolling in what we're calling a second concentration. So where maybe before you did EMBA IT, so information technology, now you've got an option to do a second concentration to further enhance that executive MBA. So you would essentially graduate with EMBA in IT and business data analytics, for example. So a second concentration does require that you've not had any prior D's or F's during your initial program. If you have, you'll have to appeal to the Dean of Global Initiatives, requesting your ability to enroll in a second concentration. My team, Courtney, will help you through that process. You'll have to have your GPA needs to be above a 3.25. And again, you would not turn in a graduation application. You would instead submit your enrollment form for your desired second concentration, which we'll talk through the options here. And that again would go to my team at the emba@ottawa.edu email. The structure of a second concentration is basically going to be exactly what you've experienced before, with the exception of you will not alternate your courses with a core business class and a second concentration. You will get, you'll just take those courses in order. So, because you've already done the business core classes, so now you really get to just hone in and focus on that second concentration. So you will have those every term. So it's 6 terms, which is 1 year in length. CPT expectations, executive and practicum memos, executive practicum course, all of that is the exact same as the original EMBA. And you'll have EMBA weekends, you'll continue on just as normal. So if you were to enroll in the second concentration, you would finish your final course on the Friday of EMBA weekend, and then you'll just start your second concentration on Saturday and go through those courses as normal. So everything is kind of the same there. So as far as your options go, we have 3 that you could do as a second concentration. One of those is also applicable to cybersecurity for managers, is available in our Certificate of Advanced Graduate Studies. So there's kind of a track if you want to do certain ones that you can do in order. So your next step, if you want to do a second concentration, let me back up here, you could pick one of these 3. So business data analytics, cybersecurity for managers, or leadership concentration. If you pick BDA or leadership as a second concentration, you would still have the option to take cybersecurity for managers as a Certificate of Advanced Graduate Studies after completion of the second concentration, which your degree, your initial EMBA degree would post at that time after completion of the second concentration. And then you could still apply for cybersecurity in regards to our CAGs, which is kind of the next step. That's why it's Certificate of Advanced Graduate Studies. So it's kind of layering and stair-stepping those degrees. So let's talk about the 3 different programs a little bit, and then I'll go back into that, the CAGs option for you as well. So business data analytics. This concentration really focuses on the business and management side of referring to data analytics. So not only will you acquire the skills to extract the data and look at it, but also explain trends and kind of predict future performance, and then really develop those solutions and approaches to figuring out how you utilize that data, and then what decisions should be made based off the trends in the data that you're seeing. So it really does focus on the management side. It's not just very specific into only crunching the numbers, so to speak, but it's really how to read and develop and understand those numbers and how those impact your organization and how that should be used. So it does have that management component in there as well. So you can see here the courses for that, a couple of examples. So these would be the 6 courses. They're taken in a rotation basis based off when we offer them. So you would have wrangling, data visualization, business data warehouses and dimensional modeling, people analytics, market analytics, operations analytics, and then problem solving and actionable analytics. So again, just dives deeper into not just crunching the numbers, but how to understand and make decisions based off of those numbers. So if you've already done BDA as your first concentration, this would obviously not be an option for you in a second concentration. So this would apply to you if you have started with IT, you could move into business data analytics. So the next option is leadership, innovation, and change. And this would be, you would be eligible for this if you have done either IT or BDA as your first concentration. And this one is really focusing more on the leadership aspect of an organization. So more soft skills and how to understand kind of the foundational aspects of leadership, going through innovative thinking, plan to change, and then overcoming challenges that many organizations are faced with, which what an interesting time to take on a concentration like this in regards to leadership, because think of all the things and decisions that leaders and organizations are having to go through now with us being in the midst of a global pandemic and hopefully coming out of a global pandemic. So learning how to really evaluate and understand the types of decisions that are made at a leadership level and how you really look at all aspects of an organization to make those important changes. This will really help you. So especially with IT and BDA, as far as they are a little bit more of the skill sets. I know you learn about, it is geared towards managers, but if you've had those, this next step in regards to leadership will help you kind of work through those more soft skills in taking the data, taking information in regards to the people within your organization, and just how to really tie all of that together to make those important decisions. So the classes that you'll see in this concentration or organizational change theory, contemporary issues in business leadership, developing leaders and leadership capabilities, emotional intelligence in the workplace, foundations of leadership in a creative organization. So again, focusing more on the people interactions and how to bridge that gap between doing some of the work and then also taking that in consideration with your skill sets, with your the people and the employees in an organization and how to make those big changes, or big decisions. So again, I think what an interesting time to be learning about this with everything that we've got going on. So again, this one would be an option for you if you were in IT or BDA. And then we have our newest option, which is cybersecurity for managers. This is going to be new to our Overland Park campus, our Kansas City campus, starting in January. We have rolled this out at our Arizona location, so we're happy and excited to bring it here as well, because this is new, kind of an up and coming program where it's really focusing on the importance of cyber management within an organization. So it's not exactly just how to again, do the day-to-day cybersecurity in the regard of it being very data-driven, action-oriented of just how to do it. It's more of how to manage through that cybersecurity process. So you will get an understanding of cybersecurity frameworks, how to analyze risk and enable security enhancements within kind of the cloud infrastructure. But really, it's going to focus on effectively how it will prepare you to effectively oversee security projects within this field. So again, leaning on that management skill set and how to develop within that cybersecurity, which is obviously a market that is continually growing with the way that we are in our industry right now. So I've talked to several of the people that have helped develop this program for us here at Ottawa. And I know there's a big market out there right now as far as careers in this field, and having the EMBA under your belt, as well as having a big focus on cybersecurity, especially in that management capacity. Those jobs are in high demand right now. So this one is going to be one that is going to be very popular, I believe. Oops. I wanted to click into the courses here and show you what this would look like. We do have a state-of-the-art cybersecurity range that you would be involved in with this. So you would have some coursework that you would do in a regular classroom, but then you would get to attend sessions in a cyber lab as well. So where you would actually get to practice and do work through some of these problems and solve how to handle if there's a cyber breach, and figuring out what that looks like and how to deal with it in the regards to the different departments that need to be involved. So you actually will get live range time and real life experience doing that in the simulator within this program. So you can see here the courses that are involved. So you would start with fundamentals of cybersecurity. This would be your first class so that you would get the information that you need to set you up to be prepared for the remaining courses. So it does go on a rotation a little bit like the other concentrations, but you do have a course that you take first and last in this program. So you would always start with, anybody would start with fundamentals of cybersecurity so that we make sure you're prepared and understand how to navigate this within that cyber lab range. And then we've got offensive security, data protection, incident response, supply chain risk management, and then your final course would be cyber execution for executives. And that is really your capstone class for this program. So the cybersecurity for managers program is also available as a second concentration, but this is the one that's a little bit different where it's in addition to that, it can be a standalone program, a certificate of advanced graduate studies. So to be sure that you understand how all that works, that's kind of what this flow chart is. You can do a second concentration. So any of those three, but if you selected business data analytics or leadership, that would be added to your original EMBA degree, like I mentioned earlier. So EMBA, IT, and leadership. Then at that point, you would elect to graduate because that's the most you could do under your EMBA umbrella. And then after graduation from that second concentration, you could then apply for a certificate of advanced graduate studies, which is what this cybersecurity for managers program. So you can stack those. So a good way to think about it is, especially if you've had IT or BDA experience already, you could enhance that with a leadership concentration to really work through how to lead in these organizations that you're already working in and in those fields that maybe you're working in, or and if you're breaking into a new market. And then even taking that further to enhance your degree after you graduate with those two, and then moving forward with that cybersecurity for managers, because you've had that leadership background, you've had either IT or BDA, and then you can move on to kind of moving into the cybersecurity environment as well, because you've already kind of had that leadership structure and training. So if you think about it like that, that's why I really wanted at the beginning you to think about what your professional and personal goals are as far as your career. So how are these degrees really going to help enhance you to get you where you want to be in the next step? So cybersecurity, again, courses are the same as what we just went through. It does follow the same requirements as the regular EMBA as far as executive practicum, CPT eligibility. The original format is all the same as well. If you apply for cyber under the CAGS component, that Certificate of Advanced Graduate Studies, you will graduate with your original EMBA, either first or second concentration, and then you would work back through HMS like you previously have to get here with your EMBA. So you would work through HMS to reapply to the program. It's not as in-depth, but you do have to provide some additional documentation to re-enter because it is a separate program. So you would work through with Carla at HMS to do that. So I am going to pause for a minute. I went through a lot of information there. So I just wanted to get some feedback from the three of you to see if you have questions or anything for us as far as on the academic side, on what you might need to do, or the international side as well. Questions in chat?
So I got a few questions. So I'm in BDA right now, and I'm considering entering the second concentration.
Okay.
You just mentioned that we do not need to like reapply for that since it's still in the same program. But is there a timeline that we know, like how long before graduation that we need to submit certain documents? Because I remember you mentioned there's a like form that we need to submit for not ending our program, not something like that. Like, do we have a timeline of what we need to do in before graduation at each time?
Great question. Yes, and I believe you said you were finishing next June, so you have just a few terms left.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So yes, you will submit that enrollment form. We usually ask for that. It needs to be submitted at least 2 terms prior to when you would be finishing. So if you're finishing in June, that means your last term would be our early summer term. So really by spring 2 of next year, which would be by the end of February to submit that form. The student services team will send you an email with this information again at around that time frame, confirming that you either need to submit your graduation application or the enrollment form for whichever concentration that you are electing to do. So for you, if it's second concentration, if you've already done, if you're doing BDA now, then you would have the option to either do leadership or cybersecurity as a second concentration.
Okay, gotcha. But just to get clarification, you do mention that cyber management is like a different program that we have to work with HMS again. But for leadership, that we do not need to work with HMS, right?
Correct. So leadership, you wouldn't have to. If you did cyber as a second concentration instead of leadership, so adding that to your first degree, your EMBA, IT, and cyber, you would not have to go back through HMS. You would work with our teams internally because it's all part of that degree. If you did EMBA, BDA, and leadership as a second concentration, then you would graduate after that. And if you wanted to do cybersecurity after that, then you would work through HMS because that would be a separate program where it was the Certificate of Advanced Graduate Studies. So you essentially have an option to do 2 more years after you graduate if you did leadership first and then wanted to do cybersecurity after that. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah. Which, are you interested in leadership, or you think you are leading towards cybersecurity as a second concentration?
Right now, I'm more leaning towards leadership, but I actually have the second question. I see all the courses you show. Will that be shared with us in the follow-up email, or can we find that somewhere on the website?
Yes, we can. You would get that in a follow-up email, and we'll make note of that, and we can go ahead and send you that information now, so that you can start looking at it and start planning ahead, since you know, you have a few months before you would submit that form. But I appreciate that you're planning ahead. So we can get that to you now so you can look through that.
Yeah, I really appreciate that.
Yeah, of course.
So third question I have is, I'm currently in CPT, and I see that you said the CPT requirements are the same. So I assume that that means once I'm in the second concentration, the CPT just gonna roll over, that I do not need to do anything with it. Is that correct?
Okay. Yeah, sorry, I saw Kim was unmuting, so I will let her handle that question. Great question.
I'll interject here. So that is a great question. So if you do declare a second concentration, your CPT will continue. So typically what happens when a student submits their enrollment form for a second concentration to student services then contacts international programs and notifies us that this student has declared this second concentration. And then at that time, that is when we will extend your program, which is the date that shows on page 1 of your I-20. And then we'll also extend your CPT. Now, if the CPT documents that we have on file are no longer valid, so if the dates are no longer current, we'll connect with you and ask you to submit certain information to us so that we can extend your CPT. So we work very closely with student services to make sure that those updates get made in CVIS. And then in terms of the CAGS program, as Jamie mentioned, because it's a separate program, your CPT would continue there as well. But you're actually kind of getting a new CVIS record because you're starting a new academic program. So you have the same CVIS ID, you know, that type of information, but the major code, the program start and end dates on your CVIS record, that information would change. And so updating that CPT you would do during the process when you're applying for it with HMS, and we would update your CVIS record at that time. So does that kind of answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, great questions. Marcella, Rushma, do you guys have any questions regarding the options or the information we covered?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
I'm good, thank you.
Perfect. Are either of you interested in the second concentration information? I want to make sure we send it to all of you if that would be something that would be helpful.
Yeah, sure.
No, I'm good. I will be just graduating.
Okay. Perfect. So Marcelo, we may have already sent it to you, but if not, either way, we'll follow up and get that to you as well.
Yeah, I would be graduating too in next year, December. So not thinking, no plans on joining as of now.
Okay, perfect.
Yep, thank you though.
Yeah. Great. Well, if there's no other questions, we will wrap this up. If you think of something afterwards, you can email us at the emba@ottawa.edu. Or if it's an international questions, you can use the international programs at ottawa.edu email. And we will follow up and, help you guys with that so that you make the best decision for you as far as what the next steps are. So
Thank you so much. And thank you for taking the time to do it.
Yeah, you're welcome. I appreciate you guys joining today and going through it. I think this is a great way for us to at least explain your options because there are several. And so we want to make sure we helped answer your questions. So thank you guys for taking the time to meet with us.
Thank you.
very
Have a
much.
good day.
Great. You're welcome. Thanks you guys too.
Bye.
Bye.